College District Chancellor Krista Ree, Marshalltown Community College nursing student Kaylee Howe, and Sunny Hill Care Center Administrator Megan Thiessen. Earlier this month, I had the opportunity to sign the Future Ready Iowa bill, which unanimously passed both chambers. Future Ready Iowa is truly about changing lives. It's about growing our communities, expanding our economy, and keeping our people right here in this great state. It's a great pathway for helping Iowans achieve their dreams and helping employers hire skilled workers for their businesses. But a change in policy related to how the federal Pell Grant can be used could really help accelerate our efforts. So let me explain the connection between the Future Ready Iowa and the federal Pell Grant program. Future Ready Iowa establishes last dollar scholarships, and this helps more Iowans earn post-secondary credentials up to a 2-year degree in fields that are leading to high-demand jobs. Iowans are absolutely eager for these life-changing opportunities. And again, employers want to hire them for good jobs that require education beyond high school or training, but not necessarily a BA. Many Iowans seek 2-year degrees, and that's great, but participating in short-term certificate programs might be a better option for others. Especially, it's a great starting point. High-quality, industry-recognized short-term certificates can be earned in healthcare, welding, information technology, as well as many other occupations. And later, Iowans can earn additional stackable post-secondary credentials. You're going to hear from Kaylee in a few minutes, and she did just that. Kaylee's story is a great example of how opening doors for people can transform their future. But a change in how the federal Pell Grant can be used could open even more doors for people. Future Ready Iowa's Last Dollar Scholarship relies on a combination of significant state funding and Pell Grants to cover the cost of tuition as well as related experiences for the recipients. Pell Grants are need-based federal financial aid for higher education, but there are federal limitations. Right now, students can only receive a Pell Grant if they enroll in a 4-credit program over at least 15 weeks or one semester. The shorter credit and non-credit programs are not included in those options. We need to have more short-term certificate programs included, provided they are high quality, that they're industry recognized, portable, and meet employer needs. They should also connect directly to where the good jobs are in the labor market. So in a few minutes, Andy will talk about the recent National Skills Coalition report that calls for more flexible Pell Grant eligibility. Changing how the Pell Grant can be used is another way that we can help 127,700 Iowans earn post-secondary credentials in order to meet the goal of having 70% of Iowans in the workforce have education or training beyond high school. But most importantly, this is about opportunities for Iowans. So I'm going to turn the podium over to Lieutenant Governor Gregg, who's going to discuss Iowa's GAP program. And the GAP program was actually highlighted in the National Skills Coalition report and has an impressive 80% completion rate. Adam?
Thank you, Governor, and good morning. And thank you to the National Skills Coalition for highlighting Iowa's GAP Tuition Assistance Program as a state model for how to reduce the shortage of qualified applicants for high-demand jobs, particularly middle-skill jobs. GAP was launched in 2013 to help Iowans with the cost of enrolling in non-credit short-term training programs delivered by community colleges to align with industry needs. Information technology, healthcare, advanced manufacturing, and transportation and logistics are among the sectors served. Certificates for certified nursing assistants, commercial driver's licenses, and welding are routinely the most popular programs. As you heard Governor Reynolds say, in 2016-17, the GAP completion rate for the 965 students who participated was 80%. Most of the $2 million of annual funding went to needs-based tuition. And just over 85% of completers report gaining new employment and typically see their wages rise, according to an Iowa Department of Education analysis. For example, Iowans who completed and were employed before and after GAP training in advanced manufacturing saw a 6% wage increase. So GAP gives many people a solid footing to help them rise up. Nearly a third of completers continue their studies for next semester in 4-credit programs at 2- and 4-year public and private colleges and universities. So GAP clearly demonstrates how high quality, short-term certificates can benefit students and employers. And at this time, I'll turn the podium over to Andy Van Clunen of the National Skills Coalition. Andy?
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you, Governor Reynolds, for allowing me to join you here in Iowa this morning. National Skills Coalition is a nonpartisan network of businesses, worker advocates, education and training leaders from across the country who want to see America grow its economy by investing in its people. And over the years, we've been fortunate to have a number of Iowa's community colleges, as well as members of the Iowa Skills to Compete Coalition, come to Washington to share what it is that they know about how to make education and workforce programs more responsive to today's workers and today's industries. But Governor Reynolds, it's a particular honor to be here with you this morning, to be a witness to your incredible leadership that you have shown both through the Future Ready Iowa initiative and by making it easier for Iowans to enroll in the college courses that they think will best position them for their career plans. As you know, Iowa faces a rapidly changing and increasingly competitive global economy with growing skill requirements across almost every occupation and industry. Your state has responded in part by making it easier for more Iowans, both young people and working adults, to enroll in shorter-term, industry-recognized college certificate programs designed in partnership with those industries. Unfortunately, our nation's higher education policies have not kept pace with that reality. This would include our federal Pell Grant program, the primary means whereby we provide college tuition assistance to lower-income and working-class Americans. Pell Grants won't support the shorter-term certificate courses because of a federal rule set by well-intentioned policymakers years ago when the only people they thought needed to go to college were those seeking a full-time 4-year degree. As a result, less than 5% of our federal Pell Grant dollars go to working students enrolled in the types of effective, industry-recognized certificate programs that we're discussing today. Not only is this federal approach outdated, it's just plainly unfair to working students who don't have the time to take a long-term degree program, but who still need some financial assistance to help them keep their jobs or advance their careers. We need to change that. Thankfully, Governor Reynolds, we can point to Iowa as a great example. And the governor mentioned a report which I can make available called Putting Pell Grants to Work for Working Students, in which Iowa's GAP tuition assistance program is highlighted as a national model that we have been distributing to policymakers around Washington, D.C. We think that it should be driving that discussion at the federal level. That's why National Skills Coalition is urging Congress to extend Pell Grants to people taking short-term programs, credit or non-credit, that lead to high-quality, industry-recognized credentials. Congress could do that by modernizing the Higher Education Act, or by simply passing the bipartisan Senate legislation, the Jobs Act, that would end Pell's bias against students who want to take short-term training. Governor, thank you for your leadership on these issues. I'm encouraged that so many members of the Trump administration have recently spent time here with you to learn from your example. I'm hoping we can work together and ensure that Congress now follows their lead as we try to bring our nation's higher education policies into the 21st century. And now, to talk about some of those effective programs, I want to introduce Chris Duree, the Chancellor for the Iowa Valley Community College District.
Well, thank you, Andy, and Governor Reynolds, Lieutenant Governor Gregg, thank you for inviting us to be with you today. Although I have the privilege of serving in my role as Chancellor of the Iowa Valley Community College District, I'm actually feeling like I'm speaking on behalf of all of our exceptional Iowa community colleges today. So before I get into any details, I want to thank the governor and lieutenant governor for acknowledging the incredible success that we've had with our GAP tuition assistance funding. The GAP funding will certainly, as Governor Reynolds mentioned, be one of the ways that we help reach the Future Ready Iowa goals. I also want to mention, as an individual who was very involved with Future Ready Iowa pretty much from the inception of the idea, it was wonderful 2 weeks ago to be on the stage and see you sign the legislation. Congratulations. But The far greater dialogue, in fact, is really how we're going to meet the workforce needs of Iowa's business and industry. I'm not a politician, but I am a lifelong educator in the state, full-blooded Iowan, and what I can tell you is that a large percentage of our students have no other choice but to come to our Iowa community colleges part-time. For the working adult, the short-term non-credit that segue into our credit programs are designed that offer stackable credentials are really their only option. A recent report from the Iowa Department of Education emphasized that Iowa's community colleges are well positioned with solutions to close the state's skills gap in growing industries. Yes, yes, we are. And state level funding like GAP, PACE, Iowa Skilled Worker and Job Creation Funding, and the Future Ready Iowa Last Dollar Scholarships are all critical to our community college students. But that's not enough. And I strongly support the National Skills Coalition position that the time has come to update federal financial aid policies to be better aligned with the needs of today's students and employers. This can start with making the Pell funding available for the short-term programs that all of our Iowa community colleges have readily available and already in place. A few examples of the certificate training programs that we're talking about this morning, some have already been mentioned. At our college, for example, we're talking CNAs, which is where Kaylee started, welders, pharmacy techs, phlebotomy technicians, machine operators, emergency medical technicians. The list goes on. And if you take that out through the entire state, it's a massive list, and all of which are in very high demand. However, Governor, with all due respect, my greatest honor today is to showcase one of our exceptional Marshalltown Community College nursing students, Miss Kaylee Howe, who I would also mention recently was inducted to the Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society's All Iowa Academic Team just about a month ago. And she did launch her own career in the nursing field using GAP tuition assistance. Miss Kaylee Howe.
Thank you, Dr. Dree, for your kind remarks. I also want to start off by thanking Governor Reynolds, Lieutenant Governor Gregg, and Linda Fandel for giving me the opportunity to be here this morning. Speaking at the governor's press conference is not part of my typical day. In fact, I should be doing my clinical work at the Iowa Veterans Home in Marshalltown right now. Needless to say, I got away with an excused absence. Next month, I will be graduating from the practical nursing program at Marshalltown Community College. I'll return to MCC in August to become a registered nurse. Without Iowa's GAP tuition assistance program, this probably wouldn't be happening. After a year of working towards my AA degree, I had decided that I wanted to go into nursing, but in order to start MCC's nursing program, I needed to become a certified nursing assistant. This is where GAP tuition assistance helped me to continue my education. GAP was very responsive in aiding me and covered the cost of the class and additional class materials, including a watch, uniform, books, and test fees. All of this helped me to be successful through the course and advance to the LPN program. GAP's assistance in earning my CNA certification has led to my employment with Sunny Hill Care Center in Tama. I am learning from our outstanding nursing staff, gaining experience while working with our residents, and building my resume for the future. Although my first and foremost reason for pursuing a career in healthcare is helping others, I also want to be in a position where I know that I can support myself financially. I'm an independent student, and I have my CNA certification, and that's played an important part in supporting myself. Because I'm eager to learn, I aspire to continue with my education after becoming a registered nurse and obtain a Bachelor of Science in Nursing and possibly continue on to postgraduate work. Each step of the way, I'm reaching all of my goals to learn, help others, and be able to provide for myself and a family in the future. I'm very proud to be a nursing student in Marshalltown Community College. Our LPN program was recently recognized as the #1 LPN program in Iowa. I also feel very blessed to have had so many people supporting me as a student and a future nurse. GAP funding has helped me get started, and I'm motivated to go as far as I can go in my career. And to anyone who may be wondering, I want to stay in Iowa. So thank you so much for the honor of being with all of you today. And now I'll turn the podium over to the administrator of Sunny Hill Care Center, Megan Thiessen.
Thank you, Kaylee, and thank you, Governor Reynolds and Lieutenant Governor Gregg, for inviting me to speak today. I am the administrator at Sunny Hill Care Center in Tama. We provide skilled nursing, rehabilitation, intermediate level of care, and palliative services to the elderly and disabled population. We are committed and take pride in providing the highest level of care for our residents. So I can tell you that it's critically important to be able to hire enough skilled care providers, including certified nurses aides, licensed practical nurses, and registered nurses. As Iowa's population ages, that will be even more essential to facilities like Sunny Hill. Sunny Hill is fortunate to have outstanding, dedicated staff like Kaylee and relatively little staff turnover, but this is not the case for other facilities in Iowa. We are constantly looking for qualified staff, mostly CNAs, and this can take weeks to months at times to find the person to fill that position. When we do get an application, this person does not often meet our culture or values that we expect for them to have to take care of our most vulnerable population. Therefore, it can take months to hire a staff member, which puts our current staff working extra shifts, which can lead to burnout. Hiring qualified staff in a rural area is competitive due to the demand of these staff members across several different employment opportunities. This makes it harder to find and retain qualified staff and compete with other facilities who are also in need of staff, as well as higher paying jobs in urban areas. With skilled and intermediate level of care, it requires different abilities to care for each resident. Qualified staff are necessary in the resident-centered care model. They are also required to be able to comply with state and federal regulations. So I am excited about the Future Ready Iowa Act, helping more Iowans earn up to a 2-year degree in high demand fields. And I'd welcome expansion of the federal Pell Grant eligibility so that more Iowans can earn high quality short-term certificates to get started in the healthcare profession. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, and we'll take questions on this topic. Well, first of all, Kaylee, thank you for, you've now said it in front of the media and it's on tape. So we have it recorded that you're not leaving Iowa. So we're grateful for that. So thank you very much. But I think it certainly reflects, this is a great opportunity, and it reflects what the workforce looks like today. And we have Iowans all across the state that, you know, life got in the way and they're looking for opportunities to better themselves, have a great career. And anytime that we can make that easier for them, whether that's short-term credentials, allowing them to be stackable, and you've seen the result. And when people can complete and take that first step forward and really find something they're passionate about. And we're really happy and excited for the opportunity that exists with modernizing the Pell Grant program.
So how would you get this expanded? Would this be done through the Iowa Congressional Delegation?
Congress has to pass it, and there's a couple of bills already out there that's addressing this. The Jobs Act, I think, is one of them. So that's an opportunity for them to modernize how the Pell Grant is used, and I think it really is a positive step in the right direction, and certainly, I believe, falls in line with what this administration has been talking about. It's certainly what we're talking about in the state of Iowa. That's what the Future Ready Iowa Act was all about. And it, you know, when we started that program, it was about working and really scaling the programs that were already in existence, and gap tuition assistance. Okay, there we go. Is one of those programs. And you heard the completion rate is 80%. And so that's an example of a program that's working that will look for opportunities to scale. And if we can get the federal government to realign the way we can use Pell Grant dollars, that just allows us to provide those opportunities for more Iowans across the state. And we were meeting last week with job creators, and it's a consistent story. Every place we were at, the last place was they needed 60. The facility before that was 40. And it's every day we're hearing, and with the of the need for workers. And so anything that we can do to help Iowans get the skills to have a great opportunity is something we should be focused on.
Let me just ask a question about your meeting last week.
Yeah. Yeah.
President Trump.
Yeah.
You brought up the issue of TPP. And do you think that's a realistic possibility that could happen? And if TPP were in, if the U.S. got back into TPP, fully embraced it, could that make up for the loss of possible loss of trade?
Yeah, well, we all encouraged it. I certainly encouraged it. And I reiterated again that especially with the fragile ag economy that we're experiencing in Iowa, our farmers are willing and manufacturers to give them a little bit of time. You know, there's some, you know, China's a bad actor, but first and foremost, we're really focused on increasing market access, not contracting it. So if that meant finalizing NAFTA, that's a step in the right direction. Looking at opportunity to re-engage in the TPP is definitely something that we would encourage them to take a look at. During the meeting, he asked not only Ambassador Lighthizer, but Kudlow to come together and start looking what the possibilities might look like to re-engage those conversations. We also brought up the robust renewable fuel standard, and that was another area that could make a difference and impact a very fragile ag economy in the state of Iowa by making the E15 waiver year round. He seemed receptive to that. So we talked about, you know, agriculture drives our economy and it has an impact on manufacturing. So when it stumbles, it has it plays a role in all other sectors of our economy. And as we indicated that we're looking for opportunities to market our goods. We've got a great brand of quality products, and we're looking to grow the markets, not contract them. And that's what we asked for. And we also said it was essential that they do this in a timely manner. So, you know, we're happy that Chorus is signed. I was excited to see Argentina open the market for pork on Friday. They've been working on that for a year. We haven't had access to that market for 25 years. These are positive steps. If we can get NAFTA concluded sooner rather than later, that's a really positive step in the right direction. President Xi made some steps forward prior to the meeting at their economic summit that they their Davos that they hold in China. So I think those were some steps in the right direction. The president is now meeting with the Prime Minister of Japan. He's going to be spending a couple days with him this week. That's one of our biggest markets in the TPP. So if we can get something done with them, that will go a long ways in helping our manufacturers and our farmers in Iowa. So those are all really positive things. But here's the bottom line. Just like a robust renewable fuel standard, just like NAFTA, just like trade for our manufacturers, we can't let up. So anytime I have an opportunity to talk about the impact that has on Iowa and our economy and our communities, we're going to take advantage of it. And I was grateful to have the opportunity to go sit at that table and talk about the impact that it would have for Iowans.
What's your bottom line on the tax bill? And what role do you intend to play in providing direction to your fellow Republicans who can't agree?
Yeah, well, you know, that's part of the process, Kay. I mean, that's how you find consensus is, you know, they've got a bill. I put our bill forward. Senate has a bill. We find where we have consensus, where maybe there's some disagreements, and we look for opportunity to align. I am so grateful for the comprehensive tax reform that passed at the federal level in December, but I was unique because of our tie to federal deductibility. So again, as our federal taxes go down, if we don't have some kind of tax reform in Iowa, we're going to see Iowa taxes go up, and that's on small businesses and that's on families with children, because those tax cuts were really targeted toward that. And I don't want to see that happen. And so that's a motivator to get something done with tax reform this year. And it's just a matter of what that looks like. The good news is both chambers and we're talking tax reform. And so I'm confident that we're going to get something done. It's just a matter of working through the progress, and we're making progress.
Is $750 million too much?
Well,
Is 300 what you propose to go?
Well, here's what maybe somewhere right in the middle. But what I've said from the word go is that I want to make sure that it's, you know, comprehensive, it's significant, but it's sustainable. And we want to make sure that we can sustain it and that we can still honor priorities like education and Medicaid. So, you know, it has to fit within that. But I think there is an opportunity to do both. And because of federal deductibility, if we eliminate that, that allows us to put that into reducing rates, to pass on, you know, the QBI, or to look, there's just opportunities for us to work with both the House and the Senate, I think, to get to where we need to be.
What are your thoughts on the taxi tax and the tax? Have rally here a little bit outside.
Yeah.
Why is that the right way?
Well, first of all, I think it reflects how individuals are buying products today. It modernizes the tax code, and we can't put Main Street at a disadvantage for people that decide to go online, and that's where everybody's purchasing. And so we've seen sales tax and use tax remain stagnant and continue to decline. And so I don't think it's unrealistic to modernize the tax code. But again, any additional revenue that would generate is plugged right back into reducing rates and passing savings on to Iowans. And so we'll hear what happens with the Supreme Court ruling in June. I think with the South Dakota and the Wayfair case, that will have an impact on what we're able to do. Well, the nation really, but that goes to that's the very heart of the matter, and really modernizing the tax code and reflecting the way people purchase products today.
Governor, you said that you want to ensure that the bill is comprehensive and significant. But what about transparent? The bills, the latest versions were introduced on Wednesday and Thursday of last week, and they will potentially continue to shift. At what point do you ensure that the public has time to read what's in the bill before it's passed?
Well, you know, they held a public hearing, and I've had, well, pardon?
It wasn't the most updated.
But Barbara, that's the legislative process. I mean, that's what happens in the legislative process. I can think of bills that have changed the way it looks 17 different times. I mean, that's people have an opportunity to work with their legislators, the different groups, to talk about what's important, what they want to see. The legislators listen. We continue to make decisions based on what we want to do and what our goal is, while we're taking into account what Iowans and businesses are asking for. And so I think that's part of the process. My tax bill has been out there for quite some time, so that has some consensus of what it looks like. The Senate's been talking about their tax bill, and the House. So I feel comfortable that people will have an opportunity to weigh in what our intent is, and LSA will do. They'll do what do you call that? Fiscal note on it. Thank you. A fiscal note on it. And so we'll have plenty of opportunity to weigh in on tax reform.
And said we're not going to do that. And so they're just reducing the rate, but it doesn't simplify. It's still, you're still dependent on the federal government. There's a lot of elements in that you didn't like.
Well, we're still negotiating. So that's what I put a bill forward. The House has put a bill forward. The Senate has put a bill forward. There's some areas where we're very close, and there's some areas that's not included. And so that's what we're going to continue to talk about. And those talks are taking place. And so, well, again, I just said, you know, it's part of the negotiation. I believe it's important that we do something with federal deductibility because we have federal tax reform. And so the timing seems appropriate. But again, we're going to work with both the House and the Senate, and we're going to come to some consensus, and it's going to be significant tax reform that is fiscally responsible, sustainable, and will allow us to honor our priorities.
Your version tries why Iowans are seeing a delay in getting their tax refund.
Yeah, well, really, this is about protecting Iowa taxpayers. They have really, they've changed the process. They did it last year. You have states all across the country that are even talking about putting into code, not having any tax refunds go out prior to March. People have been very sophisticated in their ability to fraud the system. And so this is about protecting Iowans, to make sure that Iowans get their tax refund and not somebody that's not supposed to get their tax refund. So that's what's behind it. I forget what was the dollar amount that they saved, 44 million, I think, in that was fraudulent tax payments that they stopped last year. So it is working, it's effective. And again, this is about making sure that Iowans get their tax refund, not a criminal.
Governor, one of the things you were complimented on with your plan was that it had some triggers, just to be more mindful of the economy.
Yep.
The House version that just got released last week doesn't have that. Are there any items that you feel are a must in the plan, the final version?
Well, I'm not going to do that because that's not how you build consensus. We will have those conversations, those things that, obviously I thought it was important to me because I put it in my bill, and I want to make sure that it is sustainable and that we can still honor the commitments that have made. But those are conversations that are taking place and will continue to take place. So thank you.